Sit right down and I'll show you where my dreams began.
I'm Michael Dugan, your culinary host, guiding you through the chef's journey. Join me at the chef's table, where you'll experience stories, secret sauces, signature dishes, and kitchen disasters. In part 2, we connect back with Kimberley from RocksNDirt Bakery and learn about her seasonal baking and her passion for teaching. Kimberley, what are your top 4 seasonal dishes?
That is like a massive question.
Loaded.
Because I'm kind of loaded. Like I'm always inspired by whatever's in season, or if there's still, depending on what time of year, what's in my garden, what's growing locally, and then I just think, what could I make out of this? What flavors go well together? But I thought of a few things. So for winter, one thing that I love making is a kale, leek, thyme chicken pasties or pasties.
Oh, wow.
Which growing up, we didn't make pasties, but it was something that was always readily available everywhere in Canada because of the UK connection. And so I've always loved them. And so, yeah, I make those. So for those who don't know, it's essentially like a hand pie. It has savory ingredients inside. It originated in the West Country of England in Cornwall. It found its way, to Canada with all the immigrants and so forth. So it was something I grew up with and I love. So that's one of my favorite. And I make it with a Tuscan kale. That is like absolute favorite kale. Is the Tuscan kale, also known as lacinato kale, or it has many different names, but it's that dinosaur kale, that really deep, bumpy kind of kale.
Okay.
So yeah, with that, leek and then thyme and then chicken and is the filling. And that's, yeah, I'll make them and freeze them. And anyway, they're just a wonderful savory pocket of goodness that is very popular.
Sounds like that you make magic with kale, which is challenging. I mean, I cook with kale too, but it's an acquired taste and it's a really healthy taste, but it can be challenging to cook with.
It can be. And there's a lot of kale haters. And you know what? There's a lot of stuff that isn't that good. And honestly, I feel like some of the varieties of kale I don't like nearly as much as the Tuscan kale. That is just a game changer. I feel it's just the texture and the taste. That's the kale that you can win some kale haters over with, Tuscan or the dinosaur kale. So that's, I would say for winter, that's something that I really love making. So then spring, I would say anything with rhubarb. I've always adored rhubarb. And I love really showcasing the rhubarb, not just saturating with all kinds of sugar, which is often people say, oh, I don't like rhubarb. And they tell me because it's so sweet. So I really want that tartness of the rhubarb to shine. Kind of a tie between, I make rhubarb scones.
Okay.
Between that and a rhubarb fool. And a fool is a dessert that finds its origins in the UK. And it's a custard base. You've got layers of custard, and then you've got like a rhubarb compote cream, and you do all these layers, almost like in a parfait style.
Oh, that sounds
good. And so I make the custard that I make is actually it's dairy free, and egg free custard. It's actually paleo friendly as well. It's sort of a lemon custard, and so I make that vegan paleo custard it's sweetened actually with maple syrup, one of my favorite sweeteners, awesome Canadian sweetener. So that custard layer, then I layer with the rhubarb compote and then whipped cream. But the whipped cream that I make is homemade, and I make it with coconut cream. So it's also dairy free. And so so you layer these wonderful layers. Yeah, rhubarb is the star there. And yeah, so I would say it's kind of like a tie. I couldn't quite decide if it was rhubarb scones or rhubarb fool. So that was a tie.
Okay. Tie's
um,
okay. I'll order both.
okay, cool. I grow my own rhubarb, so I usually, I mean, I just pick it myself and then make all kinds of different things with it. So, and as you know, rhubarb grows wonderfully well here in the Pacific Northwest. So,
Yeah, we have a ton in our backyard. I can't
oh, do
believe
you?
it. Oh, yeah. It's just out of control, but we freeze it and we use it. And
Yeah.
yeah, they're challenging ingredients. That's two. That's kale and rhubarb. They're both really challenging ingredients, and you make magic out of that. That's amazing.
I've won over rhubarb haters and kale
Wow.
haters. So,
Wow.
that's the goal. But there's
Okay.
still some stalwarts, and hey, that's okay. But yeah, I feel you like I hate rhubarb. I don't like
Uh-huh.
kale, and so yeah, that's my goal to make it so it's like, hey, try this. It might give you a different take on what you've tasted in the past that's
Yeah.
rhubarb
Yeah.
based or kale based. Okay, so moving to summer. Summer is probably anything with berries. I'm a berry freak.
Mm.
I would say one of the things I really love making, as you know, blackberries
Oh, yeah.
are a huge deal here on the West Coast. I make a blackberry, ginger, and lime ice cream that
Ooh.
is actually it's vegan as well and paleo. I sweeten it with date sugar.
Oh, my gosh. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, with date sugar, which is a really nice nutrient dense and also low glycemic. So someone that's diabetic could also have it, but yet it has a really nice sweetness. So I don't use any artificial sweeteners or sugar alcohols or anything like that. I use real sweeteners like date sugar. So I do a combination of date sugar and a little bit of maple syrup, and it's just bright and really refreshing, and just the ginger and the lime and the blackberry just in a lovely way together.
Wow.
Moving to fall. So we're in fall right now. So
Hmm.
fall, here again, pears. I love pears. And I love cranberry. I love
Okay.
cranberries. And so I make a pear and cranberry tostada, which is of course the Italian sort of galette. So I
Hmm.
make them. I make like mini ones, so they're you could totally eat one yourself. But I make kind of smaller size ones, almost like individual size or shareable size. So I use all organic, local pear, and then organic cranberries, whole cranberries, and it's also sweetened. I sweeten with coconut sugar in a pastry that is also, of course, gluten free and egg free and vegan. And I actually taught a class on that. I think it was last year, or I did a baking class. So with some students as far away as Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Oh,
So I
cool.
taught that, and it was really cool because one of the students, they brought it to, they had a big get together. There was a number of celiacs there, and they themselves have to avoid gluten.
Right.
And so they brought these crostadas that they made, a bunch of them, and everybody was just like, devouring them. And they were so happy to have something that was delicious and that they as celiacs could eat. And anyway, it was just, yeah, it was really
I
nice
love
to
it. Oh my
help
gosh.
them, create that themselves and to learn how to do that. It was really just made me really happy.
I can imagine. Wow. All of those dishes sound amazing. So, are you going to be offering any of these classes coming up? Tell us a little bit about that.
For Zoom, I'm kind of offering it on because I'm working with different availability of people in different time zones. I'm doing it on a one-on-one basis and trying to, I've been kind of putting it out there on Instagram
Okay.
and on Facebook a little. I need to do it a little bit more, but kind of putting it out there. And so people, if they're interested in starting that gluten-free sourdough journey, to get in touch with me, and we can start with a really brief Zoom class that just gets them started creating a sourdough starter. And then we do the first class, which is learning how to make gluten-free focaccia.
Wow.
Also, I teach them also to make crackers in that same class.
Okay. I love it.
I will, on a case-to-case basis, do local as well. It just, to the greater Puget Sound or, Camano Island. So it just depends
Okay.
on the situation. So yeah, but primarily I'm doing starting that on Zoom. So people just need to reach out to me on my Facebook or email or.
There you have it. As we wrap up, how do we find you?
So you can find me. My email is the RocksNDirt Bakery at gmail.com. Actually, more important is my website is is what I meant to say is the RocksNDirt Bakery .com. Or I also have Facebook and Instagram, both titled the RocksNDirt Bakery. I do have Threads as well, the same name. But yeah, primarily I would say Instagram or Facebook or my website. I will be having a section on my website regarding, the gluten-free sourdough classes.
Great. And just so everyone knows, her website's beautiful. It has an amazing blog. It has some incredible pictures of dishes that just make you just really, really well done. I really felt connected to it. So I would definitely go out and check it out. This episode is actually dedicated to my Aunt Nancy.
Oh, I love that.
Struggle with celiac disease, but she doesn't struggle. She's such a positive force. One of my favorite people in the world. Kimberley, thank you for being a guest on our show. You are truly a voice for chefs, but not only that, you are a voice for healthy cooking, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's been a tremendous honor to be included on your podcast. Thank you so, so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on Facebook. Find our website in the show notes. Subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen. Leave a comment with 5 stars and stay tuned for the next episode of Voice for Chefs.